Hello and welcome to the Island Lamb. I'm Diane and Happy New Year. Happy 2026. Well, I hope you got through the holidays okay. I know it was a challenging year and it seems to be starting off as a challenging year. We, like many states, especially in New England, are a bit riddled right now with flu and cold and COVID. And so we had a good Christmas, but we did have some flu and some cold in our family. Mom is doing great. She's amazing. She looks good. She feels good, and she's living her best life. So I can only aspire to that. I did want to tell you a little bit about our New Year's ritual that we performed this year. So last year, the ritual we performed, and we have for many years, is we light a candle for the month of January, we reflect and review, and then we do that for every month. You know, it was a kind of up and down roller coaster of a year for most people, and it was no different for us. You know, I had the eye, etc. And we had deaths in our family, and so we just decided that we didn't necessarily want to go back and rehash all that. So we started a new ritual where we put together really a mantra or some words to help us go through the new year and to help us reset when we feel like maybe we're going off the rails a little bit. And I'll share those words with you. Savor, mindful, patient, love, kindness, and gratitude. And when you put all those words together, right away, I feel calmer, I feel more peaceful, I feel more hopeful. And so my husband's, the first word was my husband's word, which was savor. Savor every minute, savor every moment, no matter what it is that you're doing. If you're shoveling snow, if you're washing the dishes, if you're knitting, if you're drinking a cup of tea. So mindfully, patiently, savor whatever it is you're doing. And with that, do it with love and kindness, and be grateful for all we have and all we have escaped. So those are the words, that's the mantra. I feel like I'm already embracing it. I love what we did this year, and it's okay to have change. You know, some rituals are nice to have, some traditions are nice to have, but some new ones are good as well. We did purchase a new gratitude journal. We like to, in the morning, you know, part of our routine is to jot down the things that we're grateful for. I have a new journal, and we are slowly moving into the new year. And as promised, I have some material for you on Icelandic knitting and Icelandic sweaters. I have a new project on the needles, and I wanted to share some of my January joyful simplicities with you as well. So let's get going with what I'm wearing. I'm wearing my Icelandic sweater that I've been sharing with you. This is the Katinka. I'm very pleased with how it came out. You know, in the last episode, I was talking about whether or not I wanted to do that blanket stitch across the neck, the sleeves, and the hem. And I decided not to. As you can see, there's plenty going on with this sweater. I love the way it fits. I did not necessarily want to draw attention to the hem or the cuffs. And in this case today, because this is a very warm sweater and I didn't want to get overheated, I'm just wearing it with a cotton, actually a poplin blouse. Though I have been wearing it with a black turtleneck when I go out. I love it. It's very comfortable. Yes, I should have made the sleeves longer. It's a little tricky when you are working bottom up. And I know this, and I'll do a better job with this next year, or the next time I make one, which is, you know, I'm going to measure these and remember how long I like my sweaters, because this was the, you know, for my size, this was the recommended number of inches, and you're working cuff up, and then you're putting it on with the body and working the yoke. So you don't really get a good feel for how long those sleeves are going to be until you kind of get it, you know, up to this point. And up to this point, you've got both sleeves knit. So I will take a measurement. I'll know that I would like at least 2 more inches next time. I did block it out pretty hard to try to get a little bit. So that's on me. That's okay. It looks great with this little bit of blue sticking out. It looks nice with my black turtleneck and when I wear my long black gloves. But something to keep in mind when you're working bottom up. So before we get into the pattern too much, I did want to talk to you a little bit about Icelandic sweaters. So Iceland, as you know, is in the North Atlantic. It's out in the middle of the ocean. It is a Nordic island nation in North America. It is known for its dramatic volcanoes, its geysers, and its glaciers and hot springs, but to us knitters, or for us knitters, we know it for its Icelandic wool and its Lopi sweaters. Knitting probably arrived in Iceland about around the 16th century, but the Lapapeysa, and I hope I'm saying that right, probably did originate in the mid-20th century. So that is this style sweater. So I might not be saying this right, but it's Lapapeysa. So Lopa or Lopi is a single ply yarn, traditionally used to make the peysa, which is a sweater, a pullover, jumper. So Lapapeysa, a wool jumper, single ply. The sweater is made of Lopi. So there's a lot of terms here, and I think they're a little interchangeable. So when I first started knitting Lopi sweaters, I was buying Lopi yarn from a company called Reynolds, an American-based company called Reynolds, and they are now called JCA. And then there is a Icelandic company called Istex that is selling Lopi yarn. So I am not from Iceland. I am not a historian. I'm just giving you my experience. So Lopi is a single ply yarn, and it is not spun. So when you think about that, this is knit on a 10.5 at the main body. So you can pull it apart, and oh, I thought I had some of it right here, but that's okay. You can pull it apart, but it's not like another one of the Lopi products called Plotalope, which is more of a roving, and it's very fragile, and you can just go like this and pull it apart. And people who use that yarn to knit these types of sweaters usually use 2 or 3 strands. They come in big plates. I have never used that yarn, but there are a couple of podcasters that I enjoy watching very much, and they do. I have always either used Lopi, and it's called Alphas Lopi, or Let Lopi. And Let Lopi is Lopi Light, so it's a lighter gauge. And I am going to show you and remind you of my Urefe that I made last year in black and white, and that was Lopi Light. And I have made a few things in Lopi Light. And again, I think what I'm going to do is at the end of this episode, I'll do a little montage of the sweaters, all the Lopi sweaters I have made over the years, because most of them I've gifted. And so I don't have them to show you, but I have some photographs. Getting back to this wool. So Lopi is wool from the Icelandic sheep. It contains both the wind hairs and the fleece. So the 2 fibers, the outer fiber and the inner fiber. The outer fiber is a long staple. It is, let's see, I have it right here. I want to make sure I get this right. It's long, it's glossy, it's tough, and it's water resistant. The inner fiber is fine, it's soft, it's insulating, and it's hot, has high resistance to cold. So this yarn incorporates the use of both the outer and the inner fiber. Perfect for an outdoor hike. Perfect if you keep the temperature in your home really low. I had to drop the temperature upstairs. Usually we keep it at 65, and I have it at 62 because I was like, whoa. But I love that. This is a great hiking sweater. Let's see. The breed. The Icelandic sheep is unique. The purity of the strain has been protected, and a total absence of contact with other sheep for the last 1,100 years. Over those 1,100 years, those sheep have been exposed to subarctic climate. So again, that inner outer fiber. The natural colors that are available, and you see a lot of Icelandics with natural colors undyed, would be black, gray, brown, and white, and different shades of those grays and blacks. And then, of course, it dyes well. So you see I've got this beautiful tweed, kind of a brick red, this cadet blue, and this black is a natural color. When I made this sweater several years ago and sold it, I used a much brighter red. And it looked really pretty, but you know, and I couldn't find that red this time. It was going to be on back order for a while, so I went with this brick red, but I'm really loving it because it has flecks of black and a flecks of the cadet blue in it. I love the way it looks with blue. I love the way it looks with blue jeans. And I'm really, I'm very comfortable in it. Let's see, what else can I tell you here? So the company that is an Icelandic company is Icelex, or Icetex, Istex. And it lives on. That company was founded in 1991. So as Reynolds was going out of business or JCA was buying it, Istex came in. So you may have yarn that says Reynolds Lopi on it. You may have yarn that says Istex on it. But if it's coming from Icelandic, you can rest assured that this is the true Icelandic wool from the breed that has been protected, and you're going to get the properties that I just mentioned. Over the years, I've been fascinated with the patterns. And so the traditional patterns would have a minimum of 2 colors, a little bit of patterning on the sleeve before the rib, above the hem, and then again on the yoke. More recently, we've seen just yoke work. So, you know, you can take a look through all the patterns and all the, okay, I have made this pattern. See, very traditional, natural colors, patterning on the hem of the sleeve, the body, and the yoke. Very traditional, all natural colors, patterning everywhere. If you make a pullover, there is no right side. There is no front or back. So unlike top down, and a lot of the sweaters we've been knitting these last few years, there are no short rows. So what I like to do is I like to make a note, either with my tag or, you know, maybe there's something in the sweater that will remind me. That's what I want to use for my front from now on. I think, you know, if you've got a bit of a bust, if the more you wear it, the more it's going to kind of mold to your body. But if you put it in the closet one way and you take it out the next way, that's fine too. These little booklets, oh, look at this. I made this one. Isn't that gorgeous? Again, very traditional, natural colors. So these, oh, I made this one for my Uncle Kenny, and you're going to see a photo of him wearing this at the end. Look at that pattern. I think I've made this pattern a few times. There were these booklets that came out by Reynolds. Say that's Reynolds Lopi. This is Reynolds Lopi. You're going to see this show up in 2 different colors when I do the little montage, because I made this for my best friend in a purple with a brown tweed, and I made this for my niece. And I bought the Best of Lopi book, which is the book that I made the Katinka, which is what I have on. That was in here, and I've made several of the patterns in here. And there were single sheets you could buy, and a lot of these patterns are available online on Ravelry. Now, somebody said that they went looking for this and they couldn't find it, and that's because it's not called the Katinka. It's called Lopi and a number. I put that in the show notes last episode, and I'll do that again this time. And I do believe this book is available. And I had forgotten that it was compiled by Susan Mills and Nora Gone. And you know, I talk about Nora Gone quite a bit. I've taken classes with her. I have several of her books, and I've made several of her garments and accessories. So she was involved in the compilation of this, the Best of Lopi book. So here's a little treat. My sister-in-law let me take these sweaters that I made for my niece and my nephew, her 2 children. I made these sweaters, I'm going to say 25 years ago. And that year I made a sweater for my brother, my sister-in-law, and the 2 kids. I only have the kids. This one was for my nephew. Very traditional. Look how beautifully it's held up. And this one was for my niece. Look at this. So you can see I was coordinating, and my brothers had browns, and my sister-in-law had more of a rust. And when I gave this to my niece for Christmas that year, she was just a little girl, I had found this little skating skirt. It it had these sweet little underpants that went underneath it and this little skirt to go with this. And I will include some photos of them wearing this. Now, again, this was 26 or more years ago. I put my tags in so they would kind of get a feel for maybe front and back. And so they would remember that, you know, Auntie Di made these for them. Beautiful. And I'm just thrilled to see how well they held up all these years and that my sister-in-law saved them because they are heirloom pieces. And this was Lopi by Reynolds. That's who, you know, at the time that was called Lopi by Reynolds. And with that little skating skirt, oh. So I have a tub of Lopi yarn and I have lots of blues. And when I was at my mom's Christmas, I wore this on Christmas, the day after Christmas, the day we were leaving her house because it was cold, and I wore it with the black turtleneck and my black boots. She's like, well, I don't have an Icelandic. And I was like, really, would you wear one? I wasn't sure Mom would want all that heavy wool. She said, yes. So I think I'll have to think about that, go through the tub, look through some of those blues, maybe add some, you know, some white and some, I don't know, but I'm excited to make one for Mom. And I certainly have a lot of patterns to kind of look through. So if you're thinking about trying this, so many good things. One, it's fast. Most of the Lopi, not Lopi Light, but most of the Lopi is going to start on a 9 needle for all of your ribbing. You're going to go to a 10.5 as long as you're getting gauge, and you're going to work in the round. The body is going to be worked into the round until you get to the underarm, and for your size, you'll know how many inches that's going to be. And then the sleeves are going to be worked up to the same thing. What I would caution you about is what I just cautioned you about, is if you have long arms like I do, go find another one of your sweaters that has a similar fit and take a measurement from your underarm and just add some extra stocking knit to it to get your length. Then you'll have your sleeves and your body on and you'll start working the chart. For those of you who don't like to do charts or don't want to do charts, I will say that the charts are very simple. They're very repetitive, as you can see. Now, this one is not a traditional Icelandic. This is definitely much more of a modern design, but I'm going to show you one chart for the entire yoke. And a good portion of the chart is just, in this case, red and black, red and black, red and black. And it isn't until you get up here that you incorporate the blue. And never did I have to manage 3 colors at the same time. It was only ever 2 colors at the same time. I think Lopi is fairly inexpensive. It's fast. It's gorgeous. Give it a try, maybe. Okay. I think I covered everything I want. I thought it was going to take a little longer to talk about all that, but that's okay. So again, at the end, I will show you a little photo montage of the Icelandics I've made, and I'll try, if I can, to note what the patterns were. So what am I working on? Well, the last couple of days, we've had either snow or snow flurries. And you know how I say to you, I love when my knitting kind of mimics what I'm seeing. Well, as I was sitting in the chair in the living room, looking out at these big fluffy snowflakes, I just kept seeing, like, it felt like I was knitting the snowflakes, even though this is called the natural lace pattern. This is a knitting for olive pattern. In my mind, I was just knitting snowflakes. I have so much enjoyed this. I decided that I wanted to use that yarn that I got from Misty, who gifted me 9 skeins of Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino in this beautiful color, which is called Sky Cloud. Not white, more like a creamy, more like an ivory maybe. Maybe like an ivory. And I had, and this is white, I had plenty, I think like 10 skeins, maybe even more, of Valley Yarns, Kid Mohair, and Mulberry Silk Blend. This is Southampton. I get this at Webb's. Again, fairly inexpensive. I always have this in my stash. And the pattern actually called for a strand of the heavy merino and a strand of the silk mohair. And I don't know, maybe a year or so ago, some of you asked me my thoughts on the different brands of kids silk mohair. And I compared the Knitting for Olive, the Valley, and the La Bien Aimée. And what I determined, my own personal experience was that the La Bien Aimée was shinier, a little thinner, a little less fluff, and that the Knitting for Olive and the Webs was very similar. So I knew, based on the pattern recommendation, I was going to get pretty much what was suggested for this pattern. You start on the back left shoulder. And so the gauge was to be done in pattern. And when I saw that the gauge needed to be done in pattern, I'm like, I'm not going to knit in pattern across, I do more than a 4x4. I like to do at least a 6. I may as well put the left shoulder on and see how I do. And that's what I did. So I put the left shoulder on. I started working in the pattern, and I quickly realized I was getting gauge. I was getting gauge perfectly, actually. Now, that was supposed to be a blocked gauge, and I knew that this wasn't blocked. But the other decision I made with this pattern was I didn't want it to be oversized. And I think I showed you the picture last time, but it's quite oversized. And the description says it's going to be oversized. And when I looked at the dimensions for the bust, I decided, because I didn't want it oversized, I would make the small. And the small dimension is finished 46.5 inches. So that's perfect for me. And so when I say small, the first size is 30 to 35 inches to fit the chest, which would give you a actual chest dimension of 46.5. The next size is 36.25 to 45.75, which would give you 50 inches, 50.75 inches to 50.5 inches. And then the largest size is 46 inches to 57. So I decided the small would be perfect for me. It wouldn't be too oversized. And the other thing I had to keep in mind is I had 9 skeins, and the small called for 8, and the next size up called for 9. And I felt like in all cases, except for the length of the sleeve and possibly the length of the body, I would be able to use the smallest cast on numbers. And as I thought, so go back to here. You start with the left shoulder, you work this down over, I think, 33 stitches. You cast on stitches for the back of the neck, and then you work the right shoulder. You put those on a holder, you come around to the front, and you do the exact same thing. You put on your left, you put on the stitches for your neck, you put on your right, and you work down. And you work down until you have, the exact number of rows, and it tells you exactly where to stop on the pattern. And then you put it all on one needle, and then you're working that pattern, which by now you know, and you're working it until you get to your length. So as I expected, I need to do the length for the next size up. And I'm hoping I'll have enough yarn because I didn't cast on for the next size up. I'm just adding a little bit of length. And I'll probably have to do that with the sleeve as well. Then you're going to pick up stitches, and then you're going to work up your ribbed neck. You're going to have a rib on your sleeves, and you're going to have a rib on your hem. Beautiful. This is the second Knitting for Olive pattern I've made. The first one was the fern, which maybe I'll pop a picture in here and show that to you too. I love working on their patterns. What I don't love, and I don't love working out of a big book anymore. I am so spoiled. I love Knit Companion. I'm sure I could have copied this and put it into Knit Companion. What I will say about this pattern, if you don't love charts, you're probably not going to love this because you are moving around between chart A and chart double H. Even though it's the same basic pattern, because you may be increasing or decreasing, instead of leaving that up to you to figure out or putting it in words, it is in the charts. So I'll show you what I mean. You see what I mean? You got increases, you got increases. So I have had to flick back and forth I did make a copy of the key, which I really didn't need the key. If I were to make this again, or if I were to recommend this to somebody to make this, I would say, take some copies of each of the charts, blow them up, have a clipboard, and as you move from chart to chart, just put the new chart on the clipboard and have it in front of you. I've been flipping back and forth. I chose to do that. I wouldn't do that again. But, you know, I'm in no rush. I'm home. I've got a place to put the book. I have a basket going where I've been keeping, I'll show you my little basket. I had my Christmas cards in here earlier. I've got my yarn in here. I can put the book in here. I can put the project and move it from upstairs to downstairs. So I'm okay with that. What else have I been working on? Well, I think I also showed you and mentioned that I had some yarn. I don't remember where I got the yarn. I probably got it from Webs. I don't remember why, but I had 3 skeins of Barocco Ultra Alpaca in this gorgeous color, which doesn't have a name. It just has a number, but the number is 6294. It's 219 yards or 200 meters. This is a alpaca, superfine alpaca, 50% superfine alpaca and 50% Peruvian wool. It's soft, and I felt like because I only had 3 skeins, it wasn't going to be a sweater's quantity. I decided to make, I wanted to make the Sophie Hood. I had made the Sophie scarf for me and Mom, and so I have the first side of the Sophie scarf, Sophie Hood completed, and I'm working on the second side. And this is a fun little project. Eventually you're going to stitch the back of the hood, but you've got these great little I-cord beginnings and endings. It's got a stitch in between. You're decreasing or increasing depending whether you're coming up or down. Very clear instructions. It's a Petite Knit pattern, and I love this color. And I think I was watching a couple of podcasters. I think Leslie of A Friend to Knit was one of them, who was just up in the Netherlands area, and she said everybody is wearing these, or this style, hood scarf combination. So I thought, well, wouldn't that be fun? It really makes sense on Block Island because the wind is blowing. You're trying to get on the ferry. Sometimes the hat works, sometimes the hat doesn't work. So I'm going to probably try to finish this maybe even today. The other thing I'm working on, and I always have going, is a pair of socks. I think I showed you this yarn. This is another Patton's Croy yarn. Mom gave these to me for Christmas. Did Mom give these to me for Christmas? Yes, Mom gave this to me for Christmas. Look at these colors. Is this not me? So this is sock 1. I'm working on the heel flap, and this is that same Croy. I was telling you about this one. Love it. I can't get enough of this Croy Pattern sock yarn. So that's what I have going on. And I'm thinking about and enjoying the joyful simplicities of January. Now, what does that mean for me? Well, we got a lot going on in January. So we just came home from the holidays. We are emptying out every cupboard and every door, drawer in our kitchen. We're about to have our kitchen redone. When we bought this house 26 years ago, we identified that we wanted to redo our kitchen. But between the business and life and everything else and finding it didn't happen. So we finally have identified that it's going to happen. It's going to happen this winter. So what a great experience to go through every drawer, every door, look at every pot, pan, dish, utensil, tool, appliance, and ask the question, is this serving me now? Is this something I'm using? Is it bringing me joy when I cook or bake? If it isn't, give it away. Is it broken? Is it a duplicate? Well, you know, why is it taking up space in my limited amount of space that I have in my kitchen? And so I started that project yesterday. And I think I mentioned this to you at one point. My husband and I used to move every so many years. So we had to pack up a whole household and move, and that kept us from accumulating. And but we've been in this house for 26 years, and so little by little, we've been going through every room, every closet, every drawer. But the kitchen was last because we knew we were going to have to literally empty the kitchen out completely. It's going to be a demo. So they're going to take the old cabinets. They're going to take that green, I think I even mentioned to you at one point, I was thinking of painting my Formica countertop. Well, I'm not going to have to do that. I'm going to have a new countertop put on. And I feel like we really deserve this upgrade to our home. It's the last piece, the last place in our home that we haven't really touched. We've painted, we've fixed, we've made it work all these years, and I'm grateful for it. And I tell that to my kitchen every day. I'm grateful that it's given me a place to enjoy cooking and baking, but I'm really looking forward to the upgrade. So with that in mind, I haven't really engaged in too many things, knowing that that's going to be happening soon. I have a puzzle on the table. I am knitting. My husband and I tried our second attempt at making pasta with the pasta machine using the double O flour from Italy. The first time, it didn't go so good. That's okay. We expected that. You don't just, knit your first garment, right? Your first time out. It's going to take a little bit of time. And I've made bread before. I understand that you've got to get used to kneading and you've got to get used to the thinness. So the second time, we had success. And I'm going to also show you that was that beautiful machine that we bought, and we made tagliatelle. So I made the dough. It's just water and egg. Literally, that's it. You put the water on the counter, you make a well, you put the eggs in the middle, you beat the eggs, and little by little you bring the flour in, and when you feel like you got it, you don't have to use all the flour. If you need more, you use more. This is where you have to get comfortable with what it should feel like, what should the texture be, and the color. And so made the dough, put it in the fridge, let it rest, boiled some water, made a little sauce, and popped those. Oh, and then, so once it's rested in the refrigerator, you take it out, you cut it in half, you flatten it, and you run it through the machine. And the thing we didn't do probably to the right extent last time was you start with 0, which is the thickest setting, and eventually you work up to however thin you want it. And I think we stopped too short of the thinnest. So this time we went thin, really thin. And so then when you get that long sheet as thin as you want it, then you run it through the cutter. We hung it, we let it semi-dry until we were ready for it. And we made a beautiful dinner, and we were both very pleased. So I will say that is something that I will be doing more and more of, is making my own pasta. I really liked the double O flour. That is a very light flour. It is not chemically engineered. Italians use it for their pasta. They also like it in their pizza. So I think that made a big difference. Let's see, what else do I have going on right now? I wanted to tell you about a book. So I've been knitting, and I didn't really want to have a book in my hand. So I decided to put on an audio. And I had heard about this book called The Correspondent, and I'll put her name, the author's name. It's Virginia Evans. I loved this book. I loved listening to this book. I heard about this book from Morgan Long, which is another lifestyle podcaster that I watch, who I've mentioned before. And here's what I loved about it. The story is being told to you through letters that have either been written by or have been written to a 72-year-old woman. And she has been writing her whole life, as a child even. And she writes to everyone and anyone. So she is writing to friends and family, but she may be writing to an author of a book she wrote, or she may be writing to an institution where maybe she's taking classes. And so every author of the letter is a different person reading the letter. So it's not one voice changing, the sound of their voice. It's somebody else reading the letters. You always have our heroine's voice when she's writing, but when you hear the letters coming back to her, so you get used to her best friend's voice, you get used to her son's voice, and you are going to learn about this woman and her life through these letters. I loved it. I do recommend it. I think right now it might be on the bestsellers list. I know a lot of book clubs are reading it. Certainly reading it would be nice, but I enjoyed hearing the narration. Okay, so I think that's everything I wanted to tell you about. I wish you a happy new year. I wish you a safe new year filled with hope, Savor every minute of it. Be mindful of your days. Be patient with yourself, especially yourself, your loved ones, your friends, your family. Love, be kind, and be grateful for all you have and all you have escaped.